Hey, it's Kendrick, a Technology Interpreter. So today we're going to be looking at the Tenable Vulnerability Intelligence module. So this is something that is fairly new, and so I've kind of played with this to kind of get a better sense of how can we use this, right? So that's the main thing I think is important. Like, how do you use this and how is it practical in the job? Because a lot of these tools give us stuff that may not necessarily be practical. So let's just start, and we're going to work through each quadrant. So what you have right here is this is the emerging threat. So if you click on it, you'll see known CVEs, right? So 3 emerging threats. And then what particularly is interesting, so it kind of gives you an explanation of what it is, but it also tells you what this does and how this is affect your environment. So that's what we're looking for: emerging threats, vulnerabilities that are being tracked by Tenable security team. And they have 3 types, right? So vulnerabilities being monitored, vulnerabilities of interest, and vulnerabilities of concern. So you can also go here and it will show you like it does to the CVEs, the vulnerabilities, stuff like that. So, but you can see I don't have, according to this, I have 0 assets affected and 0 findings in my environment. So that's cool. So let's move on to the next one. So we got the top 50 by VPR. VPR is the Tenable Vulnerability Rating. And so we have 5 findings that are affecting 4 assets in my environment. So you see here, it goes down and it can kind of show you the details. But then also you can see my findings, which is very helpful. So you can kind of see what the vulnerability is, which is really good. You can also see the different, affected, the number of assets affected. So that should be exactly what I see when I click here, right? So I can see, now that's interesting. So I got 4 assets that are affected, but my plugin account is 5. So, plugin account. So that's the number of vulnerabilities. So if we go back to the findings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we look at it from an opposite view, so look from the asset view, 4 assets are affected by 5 vulnerabilities is really what the data is telling us, right? So, but anyway, moving on. So if we look at the CVEs, so we got 114 CVEs here, and this says these are persistently exploited, right? So I have 16 findings that are affecting 4 assets in my environment. So 16 findings. And so once again, we can come to the graph here. We say, okay, well, all right, for this one, what are my findings? And so here are the different 16 findings that are in my environment, basically, and then it tells you the number of assets. And then of course you can click on the asset tag to see which assets are affected. Moving on, you have ransomware. So it says 427 ransomware, and it says vulnerabilities used in current or historical ransomware attacks. And so for environment, you see I have 59 findings total. So I can click on findings and I can click on assets. And you notice how this changes when I click on it. Click on findings and assets. So basically, if you look at my 59 findings, it gives you all the different vulnerabilities and of course the assets, and then you can click on the assets to see that. Moving on here, you have your CVEs. This is CISA known exploited. So if you're not familiar with this, you can click here and it will take you to the CISA known exploited. This is something you need to be familiar with because these are all the vulnerabilities that CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, this is what they have on a known exploitable list. And Tenable saving you the time because they're saying, okay, here's what we have. And then in your environment, we have 107 findings, this shows the findings. And then there are 14 assets that are also affected by the CISA known exploited. All right, cool. So let's see, top 50, we saw this. So let's move on to the 41 in the news. So widely reported by the press. And so it looks like in our environment, we have 3 vulnerabilities that are widely reported by the press. There's no surprise there, Google Chrome. This week, there were multiple there was Google Chrome updates released. And so I typically, just for context, I see this at work, if you're doing vulnerability management at the job, you should be able to be in tune with what's happening with the company. So you should be on a daily basis to be able to know the spikes and the peaks and stuff like that. When I see that risk score go up high, that gives me an indicator that, hey, okay, there's some vulnerabilities that have been released, and I can take a quick look, and a lot of times it's going to be Google Chrome. If it's on the second Tuesday of the month, it's going to be Patch Tuesday. Microsoft released their updates. And then there's some smaller ones like Zoom and stuff like that are less significant, but the thing is you want to be in tune with your environment so that you know when these vulnerabilities are released. And then finally you got the 38 CVEs that are recently exploited, right? So this is vulnerabilities that received notable press over the last 30 days. The Tenable research team has evidence that these vulnerabilities are being exploited in a while. So this is something in particular. So we have 4 findings for these that are affecting 6 devices. And as you can see here right now, you can see what these are. This is KB 501 4702. And let's see if we can expand this a little bit to kind of see if it'll let us. So you can double click it like that to expand it. And so you see right now, these are Windows Server 2016 related vulnerabilities. Now the thing is, this is the machines you're seeing here are part of our test lab. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of these vulnerabilities. It's not something I want to leave in my environment for a long time, but we do need vulnerabilities for the students to be able to go through and to actually work on. And that's what we do in our cybersecurity mentorship program. We literally teach them the same things that we do on the job in cybersecurity, so they're hands-on with these vulnerabilities. So, but for this is it. But you also have the ability to look up CVEs. So let's say, for example, so if we wanted to look up one of the CVEs that we have here, let's look at the findings, see if it'll pull it up for us. So here's a good example. So I'll take this CVE and we can paste it right here, and we can actually search. And so what it does, it goes out and pulls up the CVE and pulls up the information for it, which I think is really, really helpful, right? I like this hover function because it gives you details about it. You don't have to click on it, but let's see if I click on it. Then it takes me to this really cool page. It tells me the VPR. The VPR, once again, this is Tenable score, but then notice that says VPR beta. So we now have VPR and VPR beta. So that's maybe something I'll look into. That Tenable's updated and they're making some changes to their VPR. So it looks like it's a 10 on the VPR and a 9.8. You got the CVEs as V2 and V3. I've done a video on that. And then EPSS, haven't really talked much about there, or not really a metric that I use much. So something I probably need to dig into to add to my list of information. But anyway, you can see all the information here. You got the scores. Let's see score type. When I change it, I can change the VPR there. And then let's see mention here, and that's just plug in publish. Mention here, how does this affect me? So it gives us the machines that are actually affected by the vulnerability. And so there you go. So anyway, if this was helpful, like leave some comments, you know what I'm saying? And if you made it to the end of the video, #0logon. Okay, that's going to be my hashtag for the day. So that lets me know you watched the entire video. So thank you. But hey, the Tenable series is back. So I'm going to be covering everything in this interface. And if I missed something, please leave a message and drop a message in chat, and I'll add it to the list within reason to cover for you in Tenable. So anyway, this is Kendrick. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.